Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Bridging the Gap Between Adult Education and Apprenticeships, Promising Practices in Illinois, Part 2. Today, our webinar is generously sponsored by NGen, and we have the founder today with us, Katie Brown. I'm going to let her say a few words. Katie.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for having me here. We are really proud to sponsor COABE's work and super excited to sponsor this webinar today on promising practices in bridging the gap between adult education and apprenticeships. In case anyone on the webinar doesn't know, NGen is a certified B Corporation, and our mission is to remove English as a barrier for immigrants, refugees, and speakers of other languages. And we do this in partnership with adult education providers, with employers. Really, anytime there's a place where we can help speakers of other languages get the English skills they need for whatever they want to do next, that's where you'll find us. And I'm really excited about today's topic. Pre-apprenticeships is a place where we do a lot of work. I'm not sure if everyone here knows this, but the US has 2 million immigrants who are either unemployed or underemployed, just because they can't use the skills and credentials they bring from their home countries because they don't have English skills. And so that population is often an excellent one for an apprenticeship program once they can get English skills. And then we help people get access to existing apprenticeship programs, whether they are incumbent workers working in an employer-based context or adult ed learners who are often kept out of these programs just because they don't have the English skills they need to access them. So I'm super interested in today's topic and really pleased that we're able to be here sponsoring this webinar. And I just wanted to welcome everyone and thank you for your time and attention today.
Katie, thank you so much. And thank you for NGen for sponsoring today's webinar. It would not be possible for us to bring these to our members if it weren't for partners like you. So thank you very much. We also have a special guest today, Nicole Kloos, who coordinates the adult education component of the Center of Excellence in Apprenticeships, who is also going to share a few words with us. Nicole?
Thank you so much, James, and thank you so much, Katie. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I hope your week is going well and summer is winding down. I know August is a busy, busy time. And I'm excited to share with you right now a little bit about Staffle's Center of Excellence and our work with COABE. And the mission of our Center of Excellence is to build partnerships and improve system alignment between registered apprenticeship, the workforce, and education. So very, very excited about Heather and Tara's presentation today. And the Center of Excellence represents the first ever investment by the Department of Labor to create and deliver technical assistance, specifically focused on shrinking this gap between apprenticeship and workforce and education. And COABE serves as a partner for the Center for Strategic Partnership and System Alignment. And just a couple little nuggets before I turn it over. You ask, where do I fit in or how can I find these resources? And one of the goals of the center is to build awareness of technical assistance resources to support your programs. And who knows better than how to support your programs than you all. So through COABE, we will be disseminating TA resources and also soliciting input. I know Sharon sends out surveys and gets feedback on different initiatives we're working on. So Staffle is really, really proud to team up with COABE to ensure that students who take ABE courses have increased access to and preparation for high quality career pathways through apprenticeship. So what I'm going to share in the chat is if you want to get to know a little bit more about the center, the resources we have, or you're interested in becoming a partner, I'll definitely share those links as well as my email if you have any questions. And I really want to again thank Katie and her team for sponsoring this important webinar. And of course, thank you, Tara and Heather and team for facilitating this important conversation. And welcome, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole. Okay, we have a bunch of presenters today, more than that was on that last slide that showed at the intro video. So we have Tara Schwab, we have Patty Ragg, we have Heather Martin, Lee Reese, Jameel Steele, and I thought I saw somebody else log in too, but I'll let you introduce yourself. So with that, I will hand it over to them, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the sponsors, and thank you for having us. So before we get started, Tara and I are going to take a minute to introduce ourselves. I'm Heather Martin and Tara.
Hello, I'm Tara Schwab. Thank you for having us. And thank you so much to our presenters, our panelists who have joined us today. They were all mentioned, and we also have Richard Dominguez was the last person who joined, and so we hope to thank them about 50 times. You're going to get to hear from the experts today, so Heather and I hope to get through kind of our introduction and kind of frame everything that's going on, and then we're so lucky to have experts from around our state here today who are doing different awesome work in the areas of pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. So thank you for joining us today.
Just a little overview of our presentation today. Just so you know, this is part 2. Part 1 provided like a very cursory look at some things going on around the state. In the chat, I have put the YouTube link to the first presentation for anyone that did not have the opportunity to view it. So for this, we're going to get a little more in depth. And then as Tara said, Tara and I are not the experts. We're not the ones on the ground doing all this work. So we really wanted to give everyone the opportunity to hear from those experts. So we do have a fantastic group of panelists that you're going to hear from. We'll just give you a very brief overview of apprenticeships and adult ed in Illinois, an overview of adult ed in Illinois, some barriers, and then we're going to move on with the program highlights and let the panelists really let everyone know what they've been doing and show everyone kind of the hard work they've put into it and how the students have benefited from it.
Okay, so in the next slide, we have a quick look at some of our most recent data. And we put a QR code for our awesome Apprenticeship in Illinois website. We talked about that and kind of went through that a little bit more in our last presentation. So if you wanted a couple more slides on it, you could look there. But just a bit of a review, we have 521 registered apprenticeship programs. In our apprenticeship programs, they have 5 key characteristics: employer involvement, structured on-the-job training, related instruction, rewards for skill gains, and an industry credential. So we have many, many registered apprenticeships. The non-registered apprenticeships might also meet those 5 requirements, but are simply not registered with the Department of Labor. We have a lot of pre-apprenticeship programs. So that's like a documented partnership with an employer designed to prepare individuals to enter and succeed in an apprenticeship program. And that's where in a lot of our relationship lies with adult education and some of our apprenticeship providers. In adult ed, we have a lot of pre-apprenticeship programs within our ICAPS or IET programs. We also have youth apprenticeships, and we'll hear from some programs who are able to offer all of these things with their partners. Those youth apprenticeships are designed for individuals who are 16 to 24, currently enrolled in secondary ed or pursuing their high school equivalency. You'll hear from some of our programs who are CAPIT grant recipients, and I'll let them talk a little more about that, but that's a recent push, and many of our programs have taken advantage, and those are focused in on IT programs and training. In our adult ed world in Illinois, we have 81 providers in Illinois. We have community colleges, regional offices of education, some in K-12 settings in school districts, and some community-based organizations. So today we'll be lucky enough to hear about some pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs that are happening in community colleges, with CBOs, and with our partners around the state. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we'll hear more about some of these specific programs in a little bit.
And just so you know, I did just put the slides in the chat. So that PDF in there is today's presentation. So feel free to download it. You all should have access now.
Okay, so some of the barriers to apprenticeships, to providing apprenticeships to our adult education students, sometimes there are some internal barriers, program funding. And then when we talk about service integration, which is a huge push in Illinois to really kind of connect and get all the resources that we can to our students, there are a lot of players. There are a lot of seats at the table, and we all need to work together. And today we're going to see some beautiful examples of communities and organizations and providers that are able to do that. But it can be difficult because we do have many players that need to work together. So it's nice to have a look at some working programs in that regard. And Heather.
So some of the external barriers that, sorry, I just added the slides again for those people that just entered. I'll do that again towards the end of the presentation. But some of the external barriers that our students faced is the primary barrier was that they don't have a high school equivalency. And most of the job postings and the apprenticeships are looking for potential employees with high school equivalency. And then the other barrier was the scheduling for our adult ed students. As those of you in adult ed know, our students are incredibly overcommitted already between job and family obligations and things like that. So finding the time for an apprenticeship for something that is essentially a full-time job was very difficult, as you will hear from the panelists who have been through it with their students. So there is, can you just hop back 1 second, Tara?
Absolutely.
So there was something put in the chat about the acronyms, just so we can review that quickly. HSC is high school equivalency, so your GED, your TASC, your HiSET, and then before that we had ICAPS, which is what our IETs in Illinois are called. Your IETs is your integrated education and training. And so I know lots of states have different acronyms for them, but in Illinois they are ICAPS. So when you hear us say ICAPS, that's what we're referring to. And if there are any other specific terms or acronyms that we refer to without explaining them, please feel free to put it in the chat and we'll make sure we define it. I think we're both kind of we want to get to our panelists, so we're going a little faster than we should, but yeah, feel free to jump in and put questions in the chat whenever you'd like. So Tara, you can jump ahead now, please.
Yes, thank you for asking. And I put our ICAPS acronym definition, all the words in the chat, IET, ICAPS. So we use those interchangeably in Illinois because ICAPS is our iteration of IETs.
And while Tara moves on, just so you know, all of these programs at the beginning of our presentation were highlighted in our part 1 as well, which the video's already been linked, and I will put that in the chat again in a bit, just for everyone that came in a little bit later. So the first one is Joliet Junior College, and they were not able to be here as panelists today, but they do have, we do get to share their perspective.
Absolutely. And in our part 1 video, there's a little bit more about some of the demographic information and these different institutions and such, but we're going to give you little snapshots before we have them share some of their barriers and successes and so forth. So at Joliet Junior College, they run a bridge program. So a bridge program typically occurs within an adult education setting. So it's an adult education teacher in the classroom helping the students to prepare for employment, for ICAPS, for secondary education. So some different off-ramps that they're helping to prepare students for. And at Joliet JJC, they have a 6-week bridge program that they run that is contextualized education for IT. Because they have a pre-apprenticeship program that exists within their IT ICAPS or IET. And this program serves again as their pre-apprenticeship. This is a Model 2 ICAPS, meaning that now in an ICAPS or IET, of course, we have an adult education instructor who's team teaching with an outside training partner. And we have Model 1s where typically there's some college credit involved and the training partner is another instructor at the institution, like a credit instructor, CTE typically. And in a Model 2
Tara, can you advance the slide? Sorry.
Absolutely. In a Model 2 program, thanks. Sorry, I have 2 different screens. Yep. Thank you. In a Model 2 program that is an outside training partner. So that's what JJC is doing. They're using CompTIA as their Model 2 training partner. So they are funded, they're a CAPIT grant recipient, and they have a full-time CAPIT person at JJC. So the 2 people that we'll be hearing from are that dean and then an adult ed administrator. They've had some successes. 8 out of their 10 in their last cohort completed the CompTIA certification, and 6 out of the 10 completed their whole ICAPS program. So you can't see my slides, so I'll show you the slides on your screen. I switched them on mine. They shared some of their successes with us, so I'll have you kind of take a look at that. But their biggest success, honestly, is that relationship between their ESL instructor and their content instructors, teaching both the bridge and the ICAPS programs. Their challenge when they got to the ICAPS program their outside training partner, that kind of posed some challenges. They have such a strong relationship within their institution and for their bridges, but then once the students got to that ICAPS with CompTIA, it was really difficult. So they're looking at some changes, and they're going to explain that in the video. They want CompTIA to be a credential that students are able to earn in their IT ICAPS, but they want it to be just one. You know, they want some other certifications involved and have that be one of the options, a stackable option. And I love their words of advice. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. So don't be afraid to implement something challenging. They're always trying new things at JJC. And so they go for it, see how it goes, and then they're going to go back and make some changes. So that's kind of the name of their game. And they've handled that in that way in their IT ICAPS as well, pre-apprenticeship. So let's take a look at our JJC visitors.
Send it there. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. I'm Michelle Lyman with Joliet Junior College's Department of Adult Education and Literacy. I am the College Transition Advisor, and I work with ICAPS and Bridge students.
And my name is Dane Mazagato. I am the Director of Workforce Development at Joliet Junior College, and I work with a wide variety of areas, but I also worked alongside Michelle in putting together a bridge and IET program for our customized apprenticeship program focused on IET apprenticeships. And so Michelle and I started working together. So I came on board at Joliet Junior College, and we had this grant through ICCB focusing on trying to get more students into IT apprenticeships as a way of kind of gaining entry into that career field. And so we found that a lot of students were struggling to even get into some of these IT programs, and a lot of companies are needing entry-level help desk support staff. And so we thought that this was a great opportunity to develop a bridge and an IET program in order to try to get more students into the pipeline, to be able to help lead into some of these work-based learning experiences and apprenticeships with employers.
And as a partnership, what the adult education did in working with Dane is we had very eager and dedicated students who were in our ESL and high school equivalency classes that were interested in careers in IT, but maybe not sure if they wanted to do programming or be an end user or troubleshooting. So we did design a bridge that got approved through ICCB, and that would be in some languages a pre-apprenticeship type of focus. And the interesting thing about the bridge program was because we had several students, whether they were HSE or ESL, English was not their native language. And so we employed 2 instructors for the pre-IET or the pre-apprenticeship or the pre-bridge. One had a certification in ESL and was an adult ed instructor, and the other was a content instructor who worked with corporate and community services, and he specialized in computer repair and troubleshooting. And so this was a really nice, they worked together to come up with a curriculum and a syllabi and lessons. They taught on opposite days, but then some days they taught together. And they were able to also requisition several computers that students could work on. So some of the classes were online and others were in person, especially so that they could get that hands-on experience, taking apart the computers, putting them together, and learning what all the components were. All the meanwhile, they were getting support from their ESL instructor, especially if there was certain vocabulary or content that they were struggling with. So we were very confident that they would be strong students going into the CompTIA A+ class, which was a non-credit. So we submitted to ICCB to have that as what's called an ICAPS 2. So it was leading to a industry recognized credential in A+, CompTIA A+. Now let Dane talk a little bit about the how we found the person that was going to deliver the content for CompTIA and some of the struggles and challenges that we had and some of the opportunities that presented themselves.
Yeah, so our corporate and community services department, they offer a variety of non-credit classes and training programs for the community. And so one of those classes is this CompTIA A+ certification class. And essentially it was a class that was running from July through November. And so it turned out that all of the students that were part of this class were part of the Bridge program or the ICAPS program. And so the students, they got started, and we, you know, the non-credit program, basically our corporate and community services, they work with a outside vendor in order to provide the instruction for the class. And there were some challenges that came with it. One of the main challenges was that we were not readily getting information from the instructor as we would from other JJC faculty. And so we were having a hard time getting information about what was the attendance like, were students turning in their paperwork and things like that. And also there were just some issues with, you know, the initial instructor ended up having a medical emergency and was not able to continue with the program. And so they had to switch instructors halfway through the course of the training program. And so that created some challenges as well. Once the students did complete the course, we were able to utilize the CAPIT grant funding in order to be able to pay for the certification exam for students, and which is a great value. It's over $100 to be able to take the certification exam. We did, however, run into some issues. It's a really challenging certification exam, and through this process, you know, we realized that students were struggling to be able to pass this certification exam. And so kind of, you know, if we were to do this program again, we probably wouldn't go with as challenging of a certification, considering the students, you know, that are starting, you know, from this, starting with their GED, starting with their English as a second language. It's really a pretty rigorous training program, even for those students that are majoring in IT.
You know, and another thing that we're looking at is we don't see failure as failure. It's actually a part of success, and that's the advice that we give. You learn from this. And so some of the programs that we're looking at, we've met with other sister institutions that have IT pre-apprenticeships or IT ICAPS. And they had mentioned possibly doing the Google certification or the CompTIA ITF. These are stackable and they could lead to the A+ certification, but with the ITF, it's for students who are not sure if they want a career in the computer field, and it gets them very familiar with different careers and different processes. And it's a great way for them to decide if this is a good fit. And if it is, they have that, then they can stack that onto an A+ certification. And although this may take longer, we think this will benefit the students by giving them a stronger foundation and a base. So moving forward, I think that's what we would do differently when we're looking forward to trying this. We're also very excited to continue the partnership with Apprenticeships and working with workforce education and workforce services with Dane, because we see that there's a lot of overlap and in services and students that could benefit from this. So all in all, I would just highly recommend trying it. You're never going to know if something's going to succeed if you don't try it. And your adult education students are an incredible population to recruit because they're willing and they're eager to learn new things. And a bridge is a great way to try that without a very long commitment. It's not very costly. Definitely, I would put a lot of support services and resources with that, but it's a great way to familiarize students with pre-apprenticeships. So we want to thank you very much for letting us spend a little time with you. And if there are any questions, I believe that Tara and Dr. Martin will forward those to us. And we.
Yes, we absolutely will be sharing their contact information like I put in the chat. And I'm trying to respond to some of the questions as well. So thank you very much. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we have a lot of questions. So the first question I saw Is it for junior colleges only? No, we definitely have some community-based organizations you'll be hearing from actually shortly. And age group, I don't know the specific demographic, the age demographic, but it was not confined by age at all. Tara, do you happen to know the specific demographic of their bridge or no?
Not defined by age. So they had students of all ages taking part in this program. Some of our programs that are going to share today do have sometimes a more, concise population in terms of age, depending on the program and the type of outreach that they're doing. But at JJC in this program, they had students of all ages taking part in that. So, and I'm responding to one of the questions as well. So I think, especially in the interest of time, we're hoping to hear as much as we can from all of our experts. I am going to pass it off. Oh, I always do that. I replay the video. Thank you so much to Lee Reese for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to him.
All right, thank you for having us. I'm Lee Reese. I'm the Workforce Development Director for St. Clair, Clinton, Monroe, Randolph, and Washington counties in Southwestern Illinois, as well as an adjunct faculty member teaching career pathways for Southwestern Illinois College Adult Ed. And so we started a while back to realize that there was going to be a shift in the type of workforce talent that's available in Illinois. In doing so, we really decided that there was going to be a three-legged stool that we needed to kind of put together. We needed education at the table, both secondary and post-secondary education. We needed the workforce development regions within our area to step up. And then we needed the business and community to come together. So a lot of our strategies are about the delivery of what's called talent pipeline management. Talent pipeline management consists of 6 strategies. It teaches a business and a workforce system how to analyze the need. What are the needs going to be? When are the needs going to be there? What are the credentialing requirements? What are the sources of the talent? And how can you build talent sources so that you have a just-in-time workforce ready when employers need it? To do that, we needed to partner. So we started partnering with our high schools and adult ed programs. We are hope to pilot soon. I'm waiting for feedback from the Illinois State Board of Education on a pilot program in which we take career specialists from workforce and we take high school counselors and we take them out to a business and they spend 4 hours and they do that 10 times. They'll get a professional development certificate, but during that 4 hours, they take a tour of the business. They learn what resources are there. They make a human resource contact, which is critical. And the counselors can go back to the school with an idea of what skills are necessary for those students. This all actually ties into apprenticeship, and I'll do that shortly. But it's all about finding, I will always suggest that you have multiple funding sources for your projects in your region, because some of the rules change, especially with Department of Labor midstream. And so if you're not flexible and have braided funding and sources that can step up, it can really derail a program. Next slide, please. So some of the apprenticeships that we have in our region are non-traditional. We do very little other than manufacturing as far as the trades. We have the first food truck apprenticeship in the country, and it's based on something called currency of caring, which is where philanthropy groups or individuals that want to help people that have food insecurity gain a good meal. They can buy a token from this from Social Kitchen for $8, give it to individuals food insecurity, and then get a $15 meal of their choice. That ties into the food truck program that they have. They take individuals with disabilities, veterans, individuals in barrier populations. They bring them into a commissary and teach them basic food service skills, get their certifications needed. Then they offer them an entrepreneurship as part of a 3-year apprenticeship, registered apprenticeship. So they go out and they work on this truck for 3 years. And at the end, they have a low interest method to finance the ownership of this food truck and the route that is created over time. We have apprenticeships in healthcare. Our healthcare apprenticeships are a little bit unique. We don't just do CNA, we do CNA PCT, patient care technician, certified nursing assistant / patient care technician. We do certified nursing assistant psychiatric tech. We do certified medical assistant pharmacy tech. The reason behind that is that we've analyzed that the workforce that's emerging now are about experience and doing different things. So we put multiple job tasks together for two reasons. Number one, it gives the experience to the individual on their career pathway so that they can stack these different job tasks together to create a career pathway towards registered nursing or licensed practical nurse. But it also helps in retention, because if an individual gets burned out as a CNA, they can do another task. And so this also helps the system redeploy people based on crisis. COVIS was a good teacher of crisis management with your talent. We also do housekeeping. We have worked with our local secondary educators with their programs that have individuals with differing abilities to create some apprenticeships with one of our local Gateway Convention Center. And so we have housekeeping, we have event setup. We also work with the city's landscaping, and these students get a chance to experience a registered apprenticeship as well as earn a good wage and work towards self-sustaining the ability to live up on their own without assistance. We have aircraft maintenance technology, and we're opening up quite a few new avenues as we move forward, just putting together non-traditional types of things that we think we see from the workforce itself. Pathways are with upskilling approach. So a good example is we partner with our healthcare to do patient care technician. So the patient care technician / certified nursing assistant, that individual came from housekeeping, from maybe culinary, from one of the entry level places within the system. It's an incumbent worker model. So they move up to certified nursing assistant, patient care technician, then they have the opportunity to continue with another registered apprenticeship if they want to do phlebotomy or they want to do sonography. Any of the different healthcare jobs that are there that they're interested in, we can develop a apprenticeship with them, with the end goal being wherever they want to stop at. And our apprenticeships have turned out to be extremely diverse. We're about 67% female. The national average is somewhere around 4 or 5%. African-American, we're very high, 45% versus 4 to 10%. So working with individuals with barriers, you're really giving them an opportunity to develop life skills that will sustain them and give them the opportunity that they didn't have before. Some of the partnerships with adult ed, we're working with our local adult ed provider ESL program, English Second Language, to develop a cohort of certified nursing assistants that they'll be dual language. And so a hospital, instead of paying for an interpreter, if they pay a couple of dollars an hour more for that certified nursing assistance, now we're up around $17, $19 an hour in our region. And that individual can handle that second language need because we have demographics in some of the regions that justify that need. Next slide. Biggest successes is giving barrier populations a lot more opportunity. I can go downtown, walk 2 blocks away, and go into a pizza place and hear some of our kids from one of the local high schools that are working. We can, it's puts a smile on my face because I don't make enough per hour for what I put in. Biggest challenge is the rule changes with your funding sources. I mean, they can change mid-grant and they're just, well, we give you the money, so we'll tell you how to use it. So you want to be prepared to have those alternate sources of funding where when something doesn't go your way, you can continue with your project. Lessons learned, partnering with secondary education providers, it requires a structured program. So usually when I go and talk to a business about an apprenticeship and they tell me that they've had a bad past experience and we start talking, we're able to almost identify immediately that apprenticeship was just, here's an apprentice, figured out. Whereas if you get a good mentor system going, you structure contracts like our local secondary educators, they have contracts that's signed by the parent, by the student, by the business, and all expectations are spelled out. And then there's also the support mechanism. The school talks with the business weekly, they talk with the apprentice weekly, they talk with the mentor weekly. So they're able to identify changes in behavior, changes in life situations, and address those early. If you can address them early, you can usually fix the problem. But it's when it gets down the road and you're unaware of it that it goes south. Words of advice, get to know all the opportunities that are around you. We do a lot with our chambers of commerce, with our community-based organizations. we get all of the players in the same room so that they know what opportunities are available. So if an educator says, I have a student needs glasses, well, I can reach out to Urban League. It's knowing everything in our region and how it partners with each other. We've learned in our region that in our 9 counties that any success is a success for everyone. So if you adopt that attitude, you don't care who gets credit, you're well on down the road to succeeding.
Thank you so much for sharing your program with us and your words of advice. And to all the participants today, we do have a Q&A session. After each of the program shares, we have time set aside for Q&A. So hopefully we'll get to that, and we'll share the contact information from all of our presenters. So thank you so much. And now we are going to hear from Patty Rack, and she's from Kishwaukee College, Kishwaukee Community College, and I will let you take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'm a director for about 1.5 years. And so I have very little experience as far as being a director and running an ICAPS program. However, about 5-6 years ago, we had a manufacturing ICAPS and an office system ICAPS, and I was the co-teacher as part of that. So my experiences are kind of broad. I've been in many talks over the last 6-7 years as the teacher. And so I've learned all the aspects of building an ICAPS program or being a part of an ICAPS program. And so, that's a fortunate thing for me. This year we are piloting we piloted a bridge to IT program, and then we also are starting the ICAPS Google IT Specialist Certificate program, which is the part of, like CompTIA is a slightly different version, but it's kind of the Google version of that. Students will earn a certificate. When they are done, they get 6 credit hours for being in the program. It's through our CTE programs here at Kishwaukee College. And it's a pretty intense class. I mean, they are recommended to be working on it a minimum of about 6 to 10 hours a week for a class, but then we also have a support class that we offer. As far as CAP IT, our program also has the opportunity through our college. Our workforce and development office here actually has the CAP IT grant. And so as recipients of the grant as a college as a whole, since adult ed is part of it too, we're able to take advantage of the staff that works in the CAP IT program. They have 1 full-time person and 1 part-time person that works in that. And then the director of the workforce and community education part of Kishwaukee College also provides experience from being a previous adult ed transition specialist. She also worked for IDES as far as like unemployment office. She has a lot of experience with WIOA, adult and dislocated worker. So just having that experience at our college and being in the position with the CAP IT grant also, we've had a very fortunate, trifecta of information sources. So that has been very, very good. This year, or actually last year, we hired a transition and bridge specialist. And so, many programs have just a transition specialist, but we kind of redesigned the position last year to provide more of a steady person to be a bridge teacher in not all the bridge classes, because we offer more than 1 bridge program right now, but to have somebody that could be doing the bridge and then falling into the support role of the support teacher during the ICAPS class, which is actually a really good benefit because that cohort is following that teacher in that role. We're a small program, so it is hard to get a lot of people in our in ICAPS. So this year with our pilot, we've had an interesting, demographic of students that actually were interested. Our bridge class, we ran it in late spring and through June of this 21 or actually 2022 school year. And we were able to, for the pre-apprentice bridge program, we were able to have 24 people signed up for that class. We were really shocked that many people. Total people that finished the pre-apprentice bridge program actually were like 15 of them. And so out of the 15, we had 5 people that were interested in pursuing the ICAPS Google IT Specialist program. And they all happened to be Hispanic women in their 30s and 40s. And so we were really shocked that that would be, you know, the demographic of people that would be interested in it. So when Julie, my transition specialist, she actually speaks fluent Spanish, which is another fortunate thing. And she was able to support them in the bridge class, but then also as the support teacher, she's able to support them in that class. And she's learning right along with them. One other thing that we did with our pre-apprentice bridge program is we offered a tech support person. So because it is an information technology class and you're trying to bridge those barriers or maybe misunderstandings, we were able to hire somebody to come in and be a technology support to the bridge teacher. And that helped take away a lot of those extra incidental things that happen during classes, so that, again, they can get their questions answered right away. They have a person to help troubleshoot when something's not working right on their program. And that helped tremendously to have that type of a person with the bridge program. With the 4 students, they're all, you know, just began their classes last week. So we don't have any like finishing completions, things like that yet, but we will be, you know, reporting to the state when we are getting that done. You can change the slide now. So this is, I guess I already talked a little bit about this, in the late spring, early summer bridge program. This coming year, we're going to offer it again in that same time frame. So in May, June, and then during the summer, like in July, we decided that the students, those couple of months in between the ending and the beginning of their Google IT class, that we might have a camp day or a refresher, you know, like a workshop day, so that students can come in and those who are going to participate in the ICAPS program will have a little bit of a refresher day to kind of go through vocabulary, any like concepts as far as getting into the IT programming and things like that. And then also just reassuring them that they have the support that they need. The 12-hour-week commitment for these students is pretty intense. That is just the class time and watching the videos and doing this homework. So it is quite a lot. They do get 6 credit hours. And so we really encourage the students to get support from their employers and their families so that they can commit to this apprenticeship type thing. One of the things that is nice is that the instructor and Julie work together to actually support the students, and he is very flexible with recording the videos, and the students can watch them multiple times. So that is a very big help. And then for the ICAPS support course, the teacher, which is our transitions person, she is in there helping the students do that. And then also bringing in the people that will help with the apprenticeship side of it. Through CAP IT, they are able to, if they pass the course and get their certificate and do all the modules, then they're able to get an apprenticeship with 2 companies that have partnered with our CAP IT. And one of them is called Sundog, and then there's Facebook Meta, which is a new company, you know, here in DeKalb County that they are providing for us. So those are really great opportunities for our students to have that. Of course, they have to qualify, but regardless of the outcome of the apprenticeship itself, the experience of being in this class is actually going to be very good for the students, because they can still use the skills they learn even if they don't get an A+ in the class. You know, there's still that opportunity for them to learn the skills and become proficient in, you know, basic support of the IT programming. You can change the slide. I think I had a couple. Okay. Our biggest success was our bridge enrollment. I believe that we promoted it really heavily right there in the spring semester, but the high interest in the IT field, I think, is out there a lot more. I was surprised that we didn't have more GED students. We had mostly English language learners, but I think it's because the job market is really good right now. So a lot of people are really focused on being in their jobs. Our challenge was finding student funding, but because some of them are undocumented, we had to be creative in doing that. And one of the greatest things is you never know until you ask. So I'm going to tell you my word of advice. I'm going to skip down there is encourage people to find supportive people and ask their employers for support. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is don't hesitate to ask your scholarship foundations at your colleges or anybody that donates to your college for support for these students. That's where we came up this year with helping our students find funding. And we have different organizations and even just individual donors or employer donors that will give to students who are really looking to find support, and especially in the ESL populations, because we know that they have a lot of barriers to overcome. So don't wait till the last minute to find funding. It was a little hairy there at the end, but our students, if they were truly interested and they are working hard to stay involved in it, we really want them to have the opportunity to be a part of it. You know, we encourage them to have most of their GED done before they come in. All of these students happen to have taken the GED program before. So we were fortunate that they're not working on that at the same time. But I think overall, when you're enrolling students in an ICAPS program that offers an apprenticeship, you don't want them to be super stressed out about finishing their GED at the same time that they're trying to get their class. So we were able to have that as one of the requirements. They have to have at least 3 out of 4 done, because we just don't want them to be stressed out. And then the ESL students who they have to be at a high advanced level to be able to be in this class because the vocabulary is very intense. One of the things I wanted to just quickly mention is we have a manufacturing ICAPS that we offered several years ago. We also have an office systems ICAPS that we have, but our program will be looking in the future to update those, because at the time that we developed them, they were 2-year programs. And so we understand in order to get with the times that our 8-week programs for like our apprenticeships and our bridges and things like that, we offer them in 8-week models. We have to stay in time with that too, as far as the ICAPS programming, and then using the stackable certificates. Our Google IT actually is a stackable certificate that can be added into a networking and several other computer IT field related stackable certificates. So when you are developing them, they also have internships available as part of their classes. That is something that we are looking at as far as a future with the manufacturing and the office systems. So there's a lot of things that are coming up, and we really encourage stackable certificates as an ICAPS model. Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you, Patty.
Patty. Thank you for sharing. And now we are going to move on to sharing and introducing a little bit of information about another community college. Patty's institution that we just heard from is west of Chicago, kind of in the far western suburbs, maybe right on the edge there of Chicago.
A little farther than that, but
yeah,
that's
right. Next, we'll be hearing from a college in Central Illinois. And we're just going to introduce again just a little bit about that college, because we want to be able to get to successes and barriers and then hear from our next panelists as well. So they have a focus on recruitment, enrollment, and retention. One special thing about the couple kind of interesting, unique things about this college is the relationship that we have with our adult ed director, who has so kindly joined us, and the director of work-based learning. They're also CAPIT grant recipients, but also went for a scaling up grant from the Illinois Community College Board because they were able to implement some extra instruction that they found as they were going, that the students really needed. So that was an interesting kind of unique addition there that they were able to kind of stick in there. And that really had to centered around technology skills and keyboarding skills that they were able to provide for their students as they entered the bridge class and were part of the bridge class before they entered their IT ICAPS, which is also their pre-apprenticeship program.
And both of the programs that we have left were highlighted in our first presentation. So you can get more details about the programs by watching the video from the first presentation as well. So why don't we jump and let Jamil, let's see.
Yes. Can you see the slide? Yes.
Yep.
See the
Go ahead, Jamil.
slide.
Take it
Thank you
away.
very much,
Thank you.
Heather and
Thank
Tara,
you.
for such a wonderful presentation and information. And I'm just so excited to hear what my colleagues are doing, not only in this state, but across the nation. I can share with everyone that our biggest success is basically, we pilot this now, what we call a pre-apprenticeship model, through, I call it 1.0, through the CAPIT funds that were awarded to us, to see if we can try to create a pathway for adult education students, and that's GED students as well as ESL students, to enter into the IT industry. We found out that there was a curriculum that was sponsored by Google, which some of my colleagues are using, to offer a IT help desk support certificate. So I will say one of our biggest successes is
Are your computers frozen?
Oh, there we go.
yes, there we go. It came back. I guess it was a technology difference. Can everyone hear me now?
That's what everyone's saying. Is it me? Oh my gosh. Okay.
So
welcome
it's
back.
telling me to be short.
No.
Computer's telling me to be short and direct and to the point. So our big success is that we create what I call a all-inclusive pipeline for adult education students to enter into the technology sector. And basically we did this through creating a pre-bridge, a bridge, and a bridge with an entry into an IET model, which incorporated the apprenticeship or the work-based learning opportunity. This particular model was developed from a pilot that we did through version 1.0. We discovered that when we just did a bridge standalone course that was linked to the pre-apprenticeship, that there was a minimum amount of students that were able to participate in the training. And that was due because some of them had low digital literacy skills, as well as low keyboarding skills. And for our English language learners, even those that are in the advanced level, their reading comprehension and their writing skills wasn't there yet. So what we did is we decided to do a 3-tier approach. So with our pre-bridge program, what we do is we focus on those core digital literacy skills. We use North Star Digital Literacy to make sure that students have a basic awareness of the use of a computer, as well as adequate keyboarding skills. So we just really focused on that through our pre-bridge. And we also do some career awareness activities, because once these students move from the pre-bridge to the bridge, we want a core group of students who are dedicated to going into the IT industry. So we give them a moment to explore and ask those why questions or self-exploration questions to ask if that's really for them. And then once they decide that, yes, this is for me, then we move on to the bridge. Now, the bridge is a contextualized curriculum. We have a instructor who has actually went through the whole Google IT support training. And she has now developed the skill set as to and the knowledge base of the curriculum. So she works with those students in the bridge to help prepare their vocabulary, their keyboarding skills, as well as their reading comprehension and math skills, and to make sure that they close out their GED if that's the goal as well. Once they complete that bridge program, then they're moved forward into the integrated education training phase. In that phase, they actually participate in job training, where an instructor walks them through the actual Google IT training support course. At the end, that's an 8-week course, and at the end of that 8-week course, they're also given the opportunity to sit down and test for the CompTIA test, which is an industry recognized certification. The big magic about it is that we have employers at the table where they actually go on work-based learning opportunities as well. So they're building a relationship with their employer, they're getting hands-on experience, and a success story is that the employer, which is a major employer in the Central Illinois, has hired some of our students as actual IT workers. So we're celebrating that. The biggest challenge is maintaining partnerships, because various stakeholders are always shifting, whether it's stakeholders through the HR departments at the companies, whether it's funding stakeholders. So you got to constantly reach out and make sure everyone is on the same page and on the same board and operating on the same board. Lessons learned. We learned that our adult learners need flexible models with wraparound support services, as my colleagues prior acknowledged, because many of our students, they are already maybe working entry-level jobs, but not really making a living wage. And they have complex childcare schedules as well as transportation schedules. So you have to work with your training partners to understand and be a little flexible with their requirements or with the time, so that it can meet the needs of the students as well. My word of advice is to start with the end in mind. And what I mean by that, as you sit down with your partners, whether they be employment partners or whether they be internal stakeholders or community-based organizations for wraparound supports, always begin with the end in mind. The end in mind for IT or a pre-apprenticeship model should be that, one, you want to employer satisfaction. Employers need people to work in the IT industry, so we want to produce quality candidates that will satisfy their needs. Also, too, the learners' needs. Our students need to make a living wage, and this pathway offers a lot of promise to them. So you have to use that as a selling point to keep all the stakeholders at the table so that they'll be on board with the mission. So I apologize to everyone about the technical glitch, but that's it in the summary.
Thank you so much, Jamil. All right, so we do have one amazing panelist left. Much like Jamil's program, Rich Dominguez is our final panelist, and his program was highlighted in part 1 of our presentation. So we're just going to tell you that it is a community-based organization in Chicago. And Tara, why don't you just jump through, and then Rich can take over and share all of the amazing things that he's done, and we will not take up anyone else's time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Rich is a champ at just awesome at finding these amazing opportunities in the city and hooking his students into it and getting them going. And we're going to focus on 2 of them. One is a carpentry opportunity. And you have these slides, so you'll have the URL codes to be able to, not the URL, you know what I'm talking about, those little things.
QR codes.
Yes, thank you. That you can go see the website about some of these amazing opportunities. But the first one is a carpentry-based apprenticeship. And the second one is hospitality-based, and more specifically, he's focused on the culinary end of that, and that is through UCHI. And I'm actually going to go to the next slide and let Rich take it away because he is the expert. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. I know we're pressed for time, so I just want to kind of go through this really quickly. My two programs I want to highlight are Revolution Workshop, which is our bridge program, and UCHI, which is Unite Here Chicago Hospitality Institute, which is our ICAPS program. In a roundabout way, the biggest successes for these is the high employment rate. With our Revolution Workshop carpentry class, it's a 12-week program. Our students receive their Department of Labor card. They also get 2 stackable credits as well. And besides the carpentry skills, they're taught to be electricians and everything to build a home basically. Last year we had about 90 students participate in this program, and our success rate for job placement is at 90% of those students. The student population, this is more of a targeted platform. It's for students between 18 and 40 years old. And we primarily focus on students in Chicago's west side and northwest side. With UCHI, this is a culinary institute. Students are taught culinary skills to work in fine dining restaurants, like the Four Seasons, Palmer House, Bruce Steakhouse, etc. This ICAPS program has been very beneficial for our students. It's a very intense program. It's 8 weeks long. And then once they graduate, they transition to 1,000 hours of apprenticeship hours. Our biggest success is partnering with Unite Here Local 1, which is the hospitality union here in Chicago. Basically everyone that works in a restaurant, let's say at O'Hare and Midway airports, are all part of this union. And also Hire 360. And these are the partnerships that we have been working with to place these students within these programs and to get them their hours that they're needing. For this population, it's open to anyone who wants to join, 18 and above. Their primary focus is women, women of color, and immigrant women to take these, work on these programs. We started with them a year ago. We had 2 sessions that were our pilot programs, and as of January, we've been full-fledged working with them. Like I said, the programs run 8 weeks, and there's about 2 weeks span between each cohort, and then the next one starts up. We just completed our summer program actually last week. One benefit of this program is that at the end of each session, there's a big banquet, and the food is all prepared by our students. The biggest challenges when students come into these programs are the different levels. Some have high school diplomas, some do not, some speak English, some very little. So we have to tweak our programs to meet their needs. We have to be flexible in regards to working with them if they're on English skills. But both of these programs are fully focused on contextualized math. First I thought, what am I going to do with these programs? But with carpentry, it's fractions and decimals and measurements. And with the Culinary Institute, it's, okay, how do you take a recipe for 10 people and now you gotta serve 135 people? So it is conversions and fractions as well. So it's been very interesting for us to develop the lesson planning, but that's one of the biggest challenges is different levels and then attendance. Unfortunately, people have lives. I mean, it's hard to commit to a program that is so intense. Both of these programs are Monday through Friday, basically from 8 to 4:30. And so there's a big buy-in from our students' families to help support them during this transition period. The lessons learned, successful training through pre-interview process. We take the time before students enroll into the program to really sit down with them, to give them all the ins and outs of the program, to talk to them about the time commitment, talk about, if you gotta take care of things at home, if you have kids, how how we can help you through that process while you go through these classes. So it's talking about the roles, the goals, the opportunities, and soft skills, management skills in regards to how to work your day through these 8 to 12-week programs. And then lastly, our word of advice, it's create a win-win partnership. This, we want to make sure that all the partners are at the same table. We meet monthly to talk about what's working and what's not working. We realize that each cohort is different, that one size does not fit all. And, you know, we work with the employers, we work with other partnerships, other resources that we pull in based on the student circumstances. And then lastly, what we also think about is what are the next steps? So a person goes through the program, or they're working, or they go through the apprenticeship hours. What's after that? So it's a matter of finishing the program with roundabout services. So if they wanted to work on their GED after they finish these initial programs, and if they want to become a citizen, if they want to work on an ESL skills, those are things that we work with them as well during the program and then well afterwards, because those programs take a little longer. But it's thinking about the next steps for our students once they finish our program. I try to go fast because I know we're running out of time, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
Well, thank you. That's a perfect transition into our next part. You know, we are good to stay. I'm not sure if our panelists can. We asked them, you know, for the hour, and I'm not sure in terms of, you know, the platform, what our organizers would like to do, but we did, you know, have some time in mind for Q&A. So we also shared the contact information. So it's time for Q&A, but if anyone wanted to like take a picture with their phone instead of going through the slides or something like that, that's the contact information. So it's probably best to leave that up and then just kind of see how it goes for Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, maybe we can do that for a couple minutes and see how it goes. The video from JJC, I can put that in the chat. Yep. If you can hang on just 1 second, Grayla.
So if you do have any questions or you think of any later, like Tara said, the panelist contact information is up. Tara and I also have our contact information at the beginning of the presentation, and all of that was uploaded. I'm happy to upload it one more time, just so you have it. But we really appreciate you spending your time, especially those extra 10 minutes. So thank you so much. And feel free to throw your questions in the chat or go ahead and just email. Oh, let's see. You know what? We can do that. Thank you, Mitch. That's a good suggestion. Let me just create a document real fast, then I'll share it.
Thank you, Mitch. I love a good Google Doc. They run my life.
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl, yes, please do. And we're happy to talk. We're happy to, you know, meet again. So that's wonderful. Any other questions that you can think of for our panelists or for us?
All right, there is a link in the chat for a Google Doc. You can feel free to put your questions on there and we will answer them or make sure that someone that knows the answer gets to it. So thank you for that suggestion, Mitch. That was great.
Yes, and that is understandable, Cheryl, about funding. And since we have kind of some different programs represented here, which would have different, you know, types of funding, access to various types of funding, hopefully you'd be able to get your questions answered. So we'll definitely do our best. So if you want to go ahead and, put that on the Google Doc as they come up, we will make sure to try to get them answered.
And I know that some of you have mentioned being in different phases of planning right now in different stages. So you have the contact information and the link for the Google Doc. So reach out if you come up with any questions throughout your planning or you think of something later. And we're happy to answer those questions. And before people log off, I do just want to take another minute to thank, Michelle and Dane, who are not here in person, but for the video. Lee, thank you so much for your time and contributing and telling everyone about what you've done. Patty, Jamil, Rich, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your time and you sharing your experiences and expertise.
Absolutely. We're so proud of everything we're doing in Illinois, and we're so happy that our experts could join us today. Thank you to COABE and all their wonderful partnerships, also for allowing us to share that on a national platform. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, everyone. And I just want to thank our sponsor, NGen, again. And that was an awesome presentation. So much good information. Somebody asked earlier if this will be posted or if it was recorded. And yes, it was recorded and it'll be posted on coabe.org along with a copy of this presentation within about 24 hours of today. So with that, thanks again to our presenters. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.